What does it mean to write a letter? Is it merely a matter of putting pen to paper and transcribing one's thoughts? Some philosophers argue that letters are more than simple documents, that they're also works of art. They can be beautiful, moving, transformative. They can be used to build relationships, share ideas, and express oneself in a way that's not possible in other forms of communication. Some argue that letters are becoming increasingly irrelevant in the age of email, texts, and social media, while others believe that letters still have a place and can be a force for good. They connect people from different cultures, promote understanding, and can build a more just and compassionate world. In some stories, letters are the main focus of the narrative. The novel P.S. I Love You by Cecilia Ahern is told entirely through the letters of a deceased husband to his wife, revealing his love for her and his hopes for her future. In other tales, letters are used as a secondary storytelling device. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice includes a number of letters that help to advance the plot and reveal the characters' true feelings for one another, but are not the primary means of expositional deliverance. Letters create a sense of intimacy between the reader and the characters. When a character writes a letter, they're essentially sharing their thoughts and feelings with the reader, creating a more personal connection with a deeper level of trust. Depending on the application, the reading and writing of letters can be used to reveal information about characters, advance the plot, create a sense of intimacy, or simply give the reader a glimpse into the character's thoughts and feelings. But what if your story is entirely based around letters? How can you tell a compelling and meaningful story in the form of Dear So-and-so?
August 20th, 1994. Dear Katie, so much has changed, even just since you've been away. We moved into this house. I'm at a new school. And my big sister being gone for a year doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't feel real. But I'm not going to let it faze me. I used to tell you everything, and if I can't do it in person, because you're off gallivanting around who knows where, I'll just tell it to you in this journal. Just like I was talking to you. September 6th, 1994. Oh my God, you are so lucky you finished high school before we moved into this house. So it's the first day of school, and there I am introducing myself to the class, and I say I just moved into this house on Arbor Hill. All of a sudden, every kid in the room just stares like I suddenly transformed into a mutant. I just stood there, wishing pretty hard for a rewind button. Because now, maybe nobody knows my name, but they all know who I am. The psycho house girl. Great. September 13th, 1994. You know that feeling where the first moment you see someone, it's like they have a big gold star around them, and you have to get to know them? Well, there's this girl. I think she's a senior. She's usually dressed kinda punk. Sometimes I see her in this, army uniform. She always has a drawing in this notebook looking so intense. I had no idea how I would ever, have an excuse to talk to her until I noticed that she and her friends hang out and play Street Fighter at the 7-Eleven every day after school. September 15th, 1994. When you live in one place your whole life, your next-door neighbor is kind of like your default friend. And Daniel only got weirder over the years. So moving away has been a good excuse to, not see him anymore. But he did always have good Nintendo games. Maybe I'll give him a call. October 2nd, 1994. So you know what they say about the best laid plans of mice and men? Yeah, turns out that applies to Street Fighter too. At least I worked up the courage to walk into the 7-Eleven and ask for a turn, but all that practice at home did not exactly translate in the wild. So after I was finished getting my butt kicked, I followed them outside while they smoked, and that was when she asked me if I was that psycho house girl. But then she said she always wanted to see the psycho house. Her name's Lonnie, and she's coming over tomorrow. October 3rd, 1994. It's weird hanging out with girls. Daniel was around ever since I was little, and other girls, I don't know. But being around Lonnie is, instantly just right. I gave her the Grand Psycho House tour and took my revenge on Super Nintendo, and it was like, I don't know, I finally found someone I feel normal around. I drove her home and she gave me this tape and said, "You have got to listen to this." I haven't stopped playing it since. October 22nd, 1994. Lonnie brought her hair dye over today. She said, "I need to fix those roots. Think you could help?" Dyeing hair is weirdly intimate. I don't know if I've touched someone else's scalp before. I mean, that's pretty intimate, right? Felt intimate. We looked in the mirror together, and I expected her to say something about how it looked crappy or good or whatever. That's when she said, "You're so beautiful." And she was looking at me. Right in that moment, I wanted to say something, but I waited, and the moment was gone. October 29th, 1994. Sometimes you just have to lie to mom and dad. Like when Lonnie asked me to see a band with her and stay over at her friend's house in the city after. That's a lie to mom and dad situation. But it was so worth it. The girls on stage were just so loud and real and awesome, and everybody was moving together like one huge tide of sound. Between two songs, Lonnie leaned over and said, "How do you like your first show?" I was so happy I felt tears starting in my eyes, and then she up and hugged me. I think she could tell. At Todd's brother's place after the show, there was only a futon to sleep on, so Lonnie and I shared it. The lights went out. I was turned toward her. My eyes started to adjust, and then I could see she was looking at me, too. In the dark, she smiled. My heart was beating so fast. I rolled over. I felt so, nervous. After a minute, she put her arm around me and was so close and whispered in my ear, "I really like you." I just nodded my head, and I really hoped she could tell. I really hope that she meant what I think she did. I felt like a shook-up can of soda ever since. I hope we have a chance to talk before I explode. November 1st, 1994. Lonnie came over today, but everything was different. She was sitting at my desk chair, and she wouldn't look at me. Finally, I asked her what was going on. She said she felt like she'd done something wrong that night in the city. Like I must think, but I said no, there was nothing wrong. I just wanted to say, but I couldn't find the words. I felt like I was going to cry, but I wasn't sad. She got up and sat next to me on the bed. I looked at her. "Lonnie, do you think you could ever..." And that's when she kissed me. December 8th, 1994. It's different now. I mean, we still hang out all the time like before, but now when no one else is around, well, So you could say we're dating, but it's a secret. Secret dating? I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the real difference. Now, when we get off the phone or go home after the night, or it's just quiet and we're alone, we say, "I love you." January 12th, 1995. I'm so stupid sometimes. I was telling Lonnie that I got into the summer college program thing, and I was all making plans like, "You should come visit me, stay in my dorm room." But she said, "Sam, I ship out on June 6th. And I was like, "Ship out? To where?" She said, "To basic training." What do you think I was doing all that ROTC stuff for? I guess she's been planning to join the Army right after high school since she was like 12. And I guess she's really going to do it. So I was like, "After graduation, I'm just never going to see you again?" She said, "Well, let's just have fun while we can." February 11th, 1995. Todd's band lost their singer. Todd said he sucked. Lonnie says he got sick of Todd's shit, and he was complaining about needing a new singer. So Lonnie was like, I can sing. And they were all kind of like, you can? And she was like, probably. But she's been rehearsing with them for like a week now, and I finally got to see them in Todd's basement today, and she's actually really amazing. I feel so proud when she's on stage. It's incredible being in awe of somebody you love. So everybody knows it's like a temporary situation until she ships out in June. But till then, I'm going to be at every single show. March 11th, 1995. They tell you to stick with the group on the field trips, Katie. There's a reason for that. Lonnie and I snuck off on the side paths of the Multnomah Falls and got a little lost. Okay, a lot lost, like for hours, right before the bus left. We found a trail and came running down the path, soaked and covered in mud, shouting for the bus not to leave. The school called home. Mom and Dad said, you didn't get in trouble like this before you met that Lonnie girl. But I don't think they know about us. The kids at school, though, I'm really afraid that's a whole other story. Stick with the group, Katie. Stick with the group. April 5th, 1995. Katie, you know how Mom and Dad are, well, not exactly super open-minded about things? It feels like every minute I don't spend with Lonnie, I spend worrying about them finding out about us. And what would happen if they did. You know Dad's joke about the nunnery that he'd tell whenever you brought the boys around the old house? Well, I wonder where he'd want to send me. April 10th, 1995. I don't get Lonnie sometimes. Like, her band and our Zine and her hair and everything are all anti-authority. But I watch her in JROTC, and she's doing drills in perfect formation, following orders, no question. And there's all this stuff in the news about don't ask, don't tell. Like she's going to join the army and then have to lie about who she is? She said they don't need to know what they don't need to know. Like it was no big deal. This from the girl who trashed her locker to, defend my honor. I've learned when to stop arguing, though. I don't think Lonnie gets Lonnie sometimes. April 22nd, 1995. I had an interesting talk with Mom and Dad tonight. I mean, you've known, right? I've known. I've known since, Cibra. Mom and Dad didn't, I guess. But they saw the Zine and the stuff on the locker, and they were like, is there something we should know about you and Lonnie? And so here's the thing. I was prepared for them to be mad or disappointed or start crying or something. But they were just in denial. You're too young to know what you want. You and Lonnie are just good friends. You just haven't met the right boy. It's a phase. That's what I didn't see coming. That they wouldn't even respect me enough to believe me. Well, joke's on them, because they are in for one very long phase. May 1st, 1995. I asked Lonnie what she had to do to get ready to ship out for basic training. She said, not a lot, really. You're not allowed to bring anything with you. You have no possessions, no contact with the outside world while you're in basic. You just train hard every day, and then you deploy from there. So, they'll just send her away to who knows where, to the other side of the country, the other side of the world. My mind, I can't process it, that she's really gonna be gone. Just gone. May 19th, 1995. Daniel finally came over to get his game. I've been dreading it, but he brought this story with him that I wrote when we were little. I started reading it, and then there I was, crying at the kitchen table. He asked what was wrong, and I was thinking about how we used to be friends, how much I'd taken for granted. But instead, I told him about school and Dad and Lonnie, and then how sorry I was that I wasn't his friend anymore. He gave me a hug and said it was going to be okay. And for some reason, I almost believed him. June 3rd, 1995. Lonnie had her going away show with her band tonight. She's so incredible on stage. When she was singing, I could practically forget everything. That we only had 48 hours left. That I don't know what comes next. That I can't live without her. Then she dedicated the last song to me, and I couldn't take it. I was out on the curb in the alley sobbing till my ribs hurt. I would follow her anywhere, Katie, but I can't where she's going. After a long time, she found me. She said she was sorry. She said, "I wish things could be different. I just wanted to make you happy." I said, "I don't think you can anymore." June 5th, 1995. We agreed our last night together would be the happiest ever, and we'd forget tomorrow was going to come at all. It worked for a while. We had a good time seeing Oscar off, and then ran up to the attic to look through our photos to find one for Lonnie to take with her. And looking at them, I realized they were all in the past, and there wouldn't be any more. And I didn't know what I was going to do, and I cried, and she held me. She said she knew it was hard, but life would move on. I said I didn't want my life to keep moving without her. That's when she cried too. I was so exhausted, I must have fallen asleep like that, in her arms. In the morning, I woke up and I was finally alone. June 6th, 1995. The sunset light in this house is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I just want to sleep. When I'm in the attic, it almost feels like Lonnie could still be here. She's just downstairs, and I'm just waiting to hear her pull down the hatch and come running up. Maybe I'll go up to the attic and wait. Also June 6th, 1995. Oh my God, Katie, I fell asleep in the attic, in Lonnie and my old spot. And I missed the first 2 phone calls. I just barely caught the third one before the machine got it, and it was Lonnie on a payphone. She'd been on a bus to basic, and she said she couldn't think of anything but me and us, and that she couldn't go through with it, with the army and being a part in all of it, and that she got off the bus in Salem. She said, "Sam, I want you to pack up everything you can and get in your car and come find me, and let's just drive until we find somewhere for us." And she asked me if I could do that. And I said, yes. Still June 6th, 1995. Katie, I'm so sorry that I can't be there to see you in person, that I can't tell you all this myself. But I hope as you read this journal, you think back, that you'll understand why I had to do what I did, and that you won't be sad, and you won't hate me, and you'll just know that I am where I need to be. I love you so much, Katie. I'll see you again, someday. Love, Sam.
The New York Times called Gone Home the greatest video game love story ever told. As simplistic as it seems, the genius is in the storytelling. You play as Katie, eldest daughter who's been away for a year, who returns home to find an empty house. In her absence, the family has moved and begins fracturing under the weight of their own lives. Katie's father, a struggling author who writes governmental conspiracy fiction that skews towards the sci-fi, a mother who works for the Forestry Service and is very likely having an affair with a subordinate, and little sister Sam, whose coming-of-age story is the focus of this episode. She writes letters to us that are part diary and part confessional. Sam's story is narrated to us as the game progresses, told in a combination of voiceovers and found diary excerpts, as she struggles with coming to terms with her sexuality during the tumultuous mid-90s, when being an out teenage girl was recipe for ridicule from your peers and dismissal from your family. The use of letters in Gone Home is effective because it allows the player to learn about the characters at their own pace. The player is not forced to read any of the letters, but they are rewarded for doing so with a deeper understanding of the story. This approach to storytelling allows the player to feel like they're actively participating in the game, rather than simply being a passive observer. In addition to letters, Gone Home also uses other objects to tell its story. The player can find photographs, audio recordings, and hidden rooms, all of which help to flesh out the world within these walls and provide the player with a more complete picture of what happened to Katie's family. Playing this game is truly a beautiful and moving experience. I'm a sucker for coming-of-age stories and strong storytelling, and this work is no exception. Gone Home, along with Dear Esther and What Remains of Edith Finch, are masterpieces of the form and prime examples that I cite of video games as art forms. There's no running, no shooting, no monsters, just a few puzzles and the curious drive to collect the pages from this diary and let the story unfold. It's beautiful in its desolation. It's haunting in its endless hallways, and its seemingly simple story doesn't exaggerate and it doesn't pander. It wholly represents itself in a time and place that, as time goes on, fewer and fewer of us will be able or willing to remember. The awkward teenage years, when love hurts and life is a bitch and the whole world has abandoned you. The verisimilitude of solitude. This is a game I very much urge even the most novice among you to seek out and experience for yourself, because Gone Home is, truly, the greatest video game love story ever told.